Welcome to our channel. Today we uncover the truth about Louis B. Chesty Puller, the most decorated Marine in U.S. history and a legend within the Marine Corps. Known for his fearless leadership in some of the most brutal battles of the 20th century. Puller's career spanned from guerrilla warfare in Haiti and Nicaragua to the fierce island battles of World War II and the frozen battlefields of Korea. But beyond the medals and battlefield victories, his story is one of relentless determination, sacrifice, and personal tragedy. Join us as we explore the incredible life, wartime heroics, and lasting legacy of this Marine Corps icon. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of military history and forgotten legends. Louis Burwell Chesty Puller was born on June 26, 1898 at West Point, Virginia, the third of 4 children born to Matthew Puller and Martha Richardson Lee. His family were among the first settlers from England in 1621, and he was a distant cousin to U.S. Army General George S. Patton. In 1908, his father Matthew died, and in the family's reduced circumstances, Louis Puller was forced to aid in supporting his family at the age of 10. He continued on at school but earned money selling crabs at the local waterfront amusement park as well as working in a pulp mill. Puller wanted to join the Army in 1916 and take part in the widely publicized punitive expedition to capture Mexican leader Pancho Villa. However, Puller was underage, and his mother refused to consent to his enlistment. When war was declared with Germany at the start of World War I, Puller was 17 and accepted an appointment to Virginia Military Institute as a state cadet, receiving financial assistance in return for later service. He was, by all accounts, a mediocre student, and he went to the Summer Reserve Officer Training Corps camp in New York during the break. Puller grew restless as he heard about the fighting in Europe, and he was impressed with the U.S. Marines who had made headlines around the world, especially the operations at Belleau Wood. Puller left VMI in August 1918 and enlisted as a private in the U.S. Marine Corps, completing basic training at Parris Island, South Carolina. Puller received an appointment to Officer Candidate School based on his 2 years at VMI, the series commander's recommendation, and his test scores. Passing through the course at Quantico, Virginia, he was commissioned as a reserve second lieutenant on June 16, 1919. His life was altered during the post-war reduction in force from 73,000 down to 1,100 officers and 27,400 enlisted men. He was put on inactive status 10 days later and reduced to the rank of corporal. Frustrated, Puller rejoined the Marines on June 30, 1919, as an enlisted man with the rank of corporal. Assigned to Haiti, he served in the Gendarmerie d'Haïti, which was under a treaty between the U.S. and Haiti. Puller served as a brevet lieutenant and aided in combating CACO's rebels as one of the Gendarmerie's American officers, largely Marines, with Haitian enlisted personnel. While in Haiti, Puller served as adjutant to future Commandant Major Alexander Vandegrift. Puller received orders to deliver supplies to Mirabelais and Las Cahobas. These 2 small towns were located in a region where there was a significant presence of CACO guerrillas under the command of Benoit Batreville, a high-ranking insurgent leader. This skirmish was Puller's first engagement in the occupation and showed his adeptness at aggressive action and effective leadership from the front. Puller and his force reached Mirabelais and delivered the supplies. The next day, Puller made a 34-hour round trip to Las Cahobas to deliver the final supplies and then returned to Port-au-Prince. Puller used the locals as intelligence sources, and, learning his enemy's methods, he decided to set up nocturnal ambushes. Forming a skirmish line to their front and placing 3 Lewis guns on their flank, He attacked once he located a rebel camp. He successfully killed 17 rebels in a classic nighttime L-shaped ambush. Puller served on more than 40 operations leading platoon-sized elements, essentially writing the manual on night ambush tactics. His force killed over 200 insurgents and captured dozens of weapons. As a result, and with Vandegrift's support after returning to the U.S. in March 1924, he was able to regain a regular commission as a second lieutenant. Over the following 4 years, Chesty Puller embarked on several assignments that took him to the east coast of the United States and Pearl Harbor in the Pacific. Yet his desire for active service in challenging environments had been piqued by his experiences in Haiti. It wasn't long before the Marine Corps asked him to put those newly perfected combat skills to use again in another volatile region, Nicaragua. During the late 1920s, the political situation in Nicaragua was highly unstable. American military intervention was ongoing, justified under the U.S. policy of protecting American interests and maintaining stability in Central America. Much like in Haiti, the Marines found themselves entangled in guerrilla-style conflicts with local insurgents, often referred to as bandits, who resisted the presence of foreign troops and opposed the Nicaraguan government supported by the United States. It was in December 1928 that Puller received orders to join a detachment of the Nicaragua National Guard, which, similar to the gendarmerie in Haiti, was organized under heavy U.S. Marine Corps influence and guidance. Over the next 2 years, Puller immersed himself in the rugged Nicaraguan terrain, seeking out these rebel forces. Nicaragua's geography proved to be as challenging as Haiti's. Dense jungles, mountainous regions, and sweltering tropical heat all complicated operations. In mid-1930, Puller's adept leadership and commitment were recognized with the awarding of his first Navy Cross. The Navy Cross stands as the second highest military decoration for valor in combat, second only to the Medal of Honor. Given how rarely it was bestowed, earning such a medal was a testament to extraordinary heroism. Returning home in 1931, Puller briefly stepped away from the front lines to complete the company officer's course. This educational phase updated him on the evolving doctrine, particularly in small unit tactics, something the Marine Corps was diligently refining. By that stage, the Corps recognized that small wars and guerrilla engagements often demanded a different approach than large-scale conventional battles. The lessons gleaned from Haiti and earlier phases of the Nicaraguan intervention were codified in Marine Corps training, thus aligning with Puller's own practical experience. Yet the call of active duty beckoned again. Puller went back to Nicaragua, remaining there until October 1932. During his second tour, he displayed consistent tenacity and skill, most notably in a pitched battle against a numerically superior rebel force, which led to his being awarded a second Navy Cross. By that point, he had fought in Haiti and Nicaragua and garnered the kind of frontline experience rarely seen in a company-grade officer. He had mastered ambush tactics, patrol discipline, and the intricacies of leading local forces. This was not glamorous warfare. It was close quarters, often hand-to-hand and deeply reliant on morale and unity among troops who sometimes faced language barriers and harsh conditions. Not all of his efforts in Nicaragua were purely about winning firefights. Much like in Haiti, he made efforts to connect with the local populace. He became skilled at gleaning intelligence from Nicaraguan civilians, persuading them that the presence of the Marines was vital for their security or well-being, even if such acceptance was often reluctant. Puller believed strongly that the key to success in these guerrilla conflicts was a combination of resolve, respect for local customs, and unwavering discipline. The Small Wars Manual, an influential text produced by the Marine Corps in the interwar period, was influenced by the experiences of men like Puller. His practical knowledge, how to conduct patrols in jungle terrain, how to set ambushes, how to maintain discipline and morale, filtered into the broader institutional memory of the Corps. In many ways, his experiences in Nicaragua would ripple outward, shaping Marine Corps tactics in the years that followed. When Puller finally left Nicaragua in 1932, he had accrued more combat experience than nearly any other officer of comparable rank. He knew intimately what it meant to lead small teams in complex, irregular warfare scenarios. He had seen firsthand the complexities of foreign interventions, how to balance the use of force with political considerations, how to remain vigilant in harsh climates, and how to inspire men under conditions that would drive lesser leaders to despair. This period cemented Puller's reputation for fearlessness and aggression. Over the course of these operations, men who served under him observed that he never hesitated to position himself in the most vulnerable parts of the battlefield if it meant rallying his Marines. That practice of personally leading from the front, a trait he had already showcased in Haiti, became something of a signature. While this exposure sometimes put him at greater risk, it also instilled deep respect and loyalty among his troops. By the end of his service in Nicaragua, Puller stood out not just as a man of raw courage, but as someone who was systematically learning from every scrap of knowledge the battlefield could offer. He integrated lessons about supply chains, terrain usage, and the importance of maintaining high morale and discipline. So while the operations in Nicaragua might have been overshadowed in the broader scope of American military history by the looming events in Europe and Asia, they played a pivotal role in shaping the Marine Corps and in turning Puller into the iconic figure he would become. Upon finally leaving Central America, he carried 2 Navy Crosses, a wealth of hands-on combat leadership experience, and an emerging legend that was steadily taking shape in the quarters of the Marine Corps. That legend was about a tough, no-nonsense leader who could be relied upon in the worst of circumstances, someone who was calm under fire, who had a knack for reading the battlefield, and who always put the well-being of his men before any personal comfort. In early 1933, Puller joined the Marine Detachment at the American Legation in Beijing, China. While there, he led the famed Horse Marines before departing to oversee the detachment aboard the cruiser USS Augusta. Fate would smile upon Puller as he came to know the Augusta's commander, Captain Chester W. Nimitz, the future admiral. That relationship would benefit him later on. In 1936, Puller was made an instructor at the Basic School in Philadelphia and was denied a seat at the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, because he did not have a bachelor's degree. After 3 years in the classroom teaching infantry tactics, he returned to the USS Augusta and went ashore in 1940 with the 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines at Shanghai. On November 13, 1937, he married Virginia Montague Evans, whom he had met 10 years earlier. Together they had 3 children, Virginia McCandlish Puller, born in 1938, and twins Louis Burwell Puller Jr. and Martha Lee Puller, born in 1944. In August 1941, Major Puller left China to take command of the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines at Camp Lejeune. Then the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and the U.S. entered World War II. In the months that followed, Puller prepared his men for war, and the battalion sailed to defend Samoa. Arriving in May 1942, his command remained in the islands through the summer until being ordered to join Major General Vandegrift's 1st Marine Division during the Battle of Guadalcanal. Coming ashore in September, his men quickly went into action along the Matanikau River. coming under intense attack, Puller earned a Bronze Star when he signaled the destroyer USS Monson to aid in rescuing trapped American forces. In late October, Puller's battalion played a key role in defending Henderson Field by holding back massive Japanese attacks. Puller received a 3rd Navy Cross. In a firefight on the night of October 24th to 25th, 1942, lasting about 3 hours, the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, and the 3rd Battalion, 164th Infantry Regiment of the Army sustained 70 casualties. The Japanese lost over 1,400 killed, and the Americans held the airfield. Puller was wounded on November 8, 1942, suffering arm and leg injuries during a Japanese attack on his command post, wounds serious enough to require surgery. Command of 1/7th was temporarily assigned to Major John E. Weber of 3/7th. Puller was released from the hospital and resumed command of his battalion on November 18th. One of his best Marines who secured the airfield, a former soldier named Staff Sergeant John Basilone, received the Medal of Honor following Puller's personal recommendation. After the division left Guadalcanal, Lieutenant Colonel Puller was made executive officer of the 7th Marine Regiment. In this role, he took part in the Battle of Cape Gloucester in late 1943 and early 1944, earning a 4th Navy Cross for directing Marine units in attacks against the Japanese. On February 1, 1944, Puller was promoted to full colonel and later took command of the 1st Marine Regiment. In September 1944, he was given command of the 1st Marines for the assault on PELELIU, tasked with seizing Umur Ridge, the heart of the enemy's heavily fortified defensive positions. While successful in the attack, Puller lost more than half his men, bringing harsh criticism, much of it unjust. His willingness to lead from the front softened much of that critique. Finishing the campaign, Puller's men sailed for the Russell Islands in April before preparing for the Battle of PELELIU. During the summer of 1944, Puller's younger brother, Samuel D. Puller, executive officer of the 4th Marine Regiment, was killed by an enemy sniper on Guam. With PELELIU secured, Puller returned to the U.S. in November to lead the infantry training regiment at Camp Lejeune. He was in this role when World War II ended in 1945. In the years after World War II, Puller oversaw a variety of commands, including the 8th Reserve District and the Marine Barracks at Pearl Harbor. With the outbreak of the Korean War, Puller again took command of the 1st Marine Regiment. Preparing his men, he took part in General Douglas MacArthur's landings at Incheon in September 1950. For his efforts during those landings, Puller received the Silver Star and a 2nd Legion of Merit. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross from the U.S. Army for heroism in action from November 29th to December 4th, and his 5th Navy Cross for heroism during December 5th through 10th, 1950, at the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir. It was during that battle that he famously said, "We've been looking for the enemy for some time now. We finally found him. We're surrounded." That simplifies things. Taking part in the advance into North Korea, Puller performed brilliantly against overwhelming numbers. Promoted to brigadier general in January 1951, he briefly served as assistant commander of the 1st Marine Division before temporarily taking command the following month after the transfer of Major General O.P. Smith. He remained in this role until returning to the United States in May. Briefly leading the 3rd Marine Brigade at Camp Pendleton, Puller stayed on when it became the 3rd Marine Division in January 1952. Promoted to Major General in September 1953, he was given command of the 2nd Marine Division at Camp Lejeune the following July. The rigors of nearly 4 decades in uniform gradually took their toll on Louis Burwell Puller. His long service in tropical environments, first in Haiti, then in Nicaragua, and eventually in the humid jungles of the Pacific had exposed him to diseases like malaria, which often recurred in waves. These relapses of malaria, coupled with the physical strain of multiple wounds and the punishing campaigns he led, contributed to high blood pressure and a rheumatic heart. Despite his larger-than-life reputation, Puller was still human. His body began to show the scars of a career spent mostly on the front lines. By November 1st, 1955, he was forced to retire from active duty. At the time, he held the rank of lieutenant general, promoted in recognition of his cumulative service and the breadth of his accomplishments. This rank left no doubt as to the esteem in which he was held by the Corps and the nation. Over his career, he had earned an unparalleled total of 5 Navy Crosses, a Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Legions of Merit, a Silver Star, a Bronze Star, and a Purple Heart, among other honors. For many Marines and historians, these medals were merely outward symbols of the indomitable spirit he embodied. One question that often arises is how Puller acquired the nickname Chesty. While he himself sometimes professed uncertainty, it was commonly believed that the moniker referred to his proud, barrel-chested posture, a reflection of both physical bearing and personal confidence. In Marine vernacular, calling someone chesty can also imply a degree of cocksureness, hinting that Puller's unwavering self-assurance may have contributed to the name. Whichever version one prefers, there is little question that the nickname stuck, and that it captures the essence of the man and the myth that sprang up around him. Despite having never completed a formal college education, Puller's achievements transcended any typical academic requirement for officers. His success was rooted in a combination of battlefield instinct, an unbreakable bond with his subordinates, and a reputation for fairness and empathy that turned men into fierce devotees. Even in his final postings, men who served under him recall being motivated by the knowledge that Chesty Puller had their backs. To them, he wasn't just a senior officer, he was a legend. Retiring to Virginia, he tried to enjoy the peace that had so long eluded him. He settled into a life with his wife and children, though the scars of his service remained. He suffered multiple strokes, and these further compromised his health and mobility. Even so, the fortitude he had shown in the field carried over into his personal life. He remained involved with Marine Corps events and continued to be seen as a cultural touchstone for active duty Marines and veterans alike who would sometimes visit him to share their stories and pay respects. On October 11, 1971, Louis Chesty Puller passed away. His death was mourned not only by the Marine Corps community, but also by an American public that had come to respect his image as the quintessential fighting Marine. He was laid to rest with full military honors, symbolizing a lifetime of valor and unyielding dedication. For many, his passing signaled the end of an era. The exploits of Marines in Vietnam and future conflicts would soon dominate the headlines, but the stories of Puller's grit and leadership in the Pacific and Korea remained very much alive. In the decades since, the Marine Corps has continued to revere Puller as a figure of near-mythic proportions. At every Marine Corps birthday celebration, or during countless ceremonies and gatherings, one can still hear references to Chesty as a source of inspiration. Even the cadence, "Good night, Chesty, wherever you are," is a nod to this enduring affection. So although his physical presence was lost to the ravages of age and illness, his spirit lived on in every Marine who laces up their boots, stands at attention, and commits themselves to the same ideals he so fiercely championed. Viewed in the full context of his life, Puller's retirement and death mark a final chapter that was both inevitable and poignant. It was a peaceful conclusion to a life spent in the harshest crucibles of war, yet it also served as a passing of the torch. His story, immortalized in Marine lore and American military history, remains an example for new generations. They may not all face the same desperate conditions as he did in the jungles of the Pacific or the icy mountains of North Korea, but they can share in the unbreakable spirit that allowed him to conquer both the external enemy and his own physical limitations for as long as he did, while Chesty Puller left an indelible mark on the Marine Corps and the broader American military tradition. The Puller name carried on through his children, though not without significant trials. His son, Louis B. Puller, Jr., followed in his father's footsteps to serve his country, joining the Marine Corps and leading a platoon in Vietnam. That war, like those before it, demanded immense sacrifices. Louis Jr. lost both legs and parts of both hands to a landmine. Despite these devastating injuries, he survived and was awarded the Silver Star and a Purple Heart. His challenges, however, did not end with the physical wounds. Adjusting to life as a severely wounded veteran required confronting painful realities and a lengthy healing process, both physically and emotionally. Louis Jr. ultimately found a means of expression through writing, publishing his autobiography, Fortunate Son, The Healing of a Vietnam Vet, in 1991. The book won the Pulitzer Prize in 1992, a testament to his powerful reflection on war, his injuries, and the personal cost of service. Tragically, even this recognition and his honest grappling with trauma did not completely quell the inner turmoil he endured. In 1994, Louis Jr. took his own life. His death was a stark reminder that the burdens of war echo through generations, and that heroism on the battlefield does not always protect one from the demons that can arise afterward. Another continuation of the Puller legacy is the USS Louis B. Puller, an expeditionary mobile base vessel in the U.S. Navy, previously classified under different designations such as mobile landing platform, a float-forward staging base. It was named in honor of the legendary Marine, becoming the second naval vessel to bear the name Puller. This modern ship underscores the ongoing reverence with which he is remembered, linking his name to the future of naval and amphibious operations, roles that he helped define in his lifetime of service. His broader influence resonates in the Marine Corps' training ethos, from the intensity of recruit depots like Parris Island and San Diego to the leadership development taught at Quantico. Recruits and candidates alike learn about Chesty Puller's unshakable tenacity, his willingness to share hardships, and his unrelenting drive to uphold the highest standards. The mention of him in Marine Corps ballads, cadences, and bedtime calls testifies to his role as a figure of unity and pride. Today, Chesty Puller's story remains a reminder of a certain breed of leadership. He was direct, uncompromising, and yet deeply caring for the well-being of his troops. That personal bond with the rank and file was central to his success across multiple wars and countless battlefields. Young Marines encountering his story for the first time often find inspiration in the notion that a person from humble beginnings without a college degree can rise to become a lieutenant general, provided they exhibit the requisite courage, dedication, and skill. His experiences and accomplishments are part of the broader tapestry of the Marine Corps tradition, one that values mission accomplishment, knowledge gained through harsh experience, and the forging of unwavering bonds among those who share hardships in the field. From the early interventions in Haiti to the amphibious landings in the Pacific, from the sub-zero stands in Korea to the institutional shaping of Marines in later years, Puller embodied the adage that great leaders are formed by adversity. We hope you've enjoyed this deeply expanded segment of Forgotten History. We've walked through Puller's entire life story, from his youth in West Point, Virginia, where he learned responsibility far too early, to his final days in retirement as a revered icon, and ultimately to the continuing saga of his family and namesake in the modern Navy. His journey shows that while the character of war changes from small guerrilla engagements to massive amphibious campaigns, the essence of leadership and courage remains timeless. It's a story that resonates not just with Marines, but with anyone who appreciates perseverance in the face of daunting odds. Thank you for accompanying us on this exploration of Lieutenant General Louis Burwell Chesty Puller's remarkable career and enduring legacy. We invite you to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and stay engaged with more stories of significant yet sometimes overlooked figures who've left their mark on history. Your comments and ideas are always welcome. Let us know what you think and what other stories you'd like to see us cover. Until next time, this has been Forgotten History, striving to bring you deeper insights into the lives that shaped our world.